Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to today's video. This is for those in the Hierophant level. So we are learning a little bit more about our abilities. We want to know about our abilities. Maybe you're curious about your abilities, but you're like, where are they? So the first thing I'm going to talk about in this video is the fact that if your abilities aren't here or you can't see them, there's a block. So we're going to talk about blocks, and then I'm going to kind of introduce you to how I discovered my abilities subtly over time. So blocks associated with your psychic abilities. Okay, so I get a lot of people coming to me and saying, when I hear a noise, I still get spooked in my house, or if I think it's a spirit, I get spooked. And I think that we have to realize that we're actually getting spooked because we think it's another human being. We think that we're alone and then something else is here, but we don't see someone. So we automatically go for that it's a spirit or an energy, and then we get like spooked by it. We also have to realize that these ideas that we've gathered from the past come from videos, they come from movies, things that we've seen on TV, and not most of the time it's not actually a spirit here with us, whether it's something that's moving. It can happen, but it's not fear-based. So first and foremost, you have to get that out of your mind, and then you say, well, if I'm spooked by this, then how am I ever going to allow my abilities to come through? It's not the same. Your abilities are present already. You just may not be prospectively looking at them. And here's an example. So you're riding down the street, and all of a sudden you see the street sign in your neighborhood, and you say to somebody in the car, was that sign always there? And they say, yeah, since we've moved in. And you just hadn't noticed it yet. So there's something about, now that this is in your perspective, now that you are aware of it, it's something that you see all the time. And your abilities are hiding dormant inside of you. They're there, but there's some fears still that are blocking. So this is where you're going to think back into childhood. Think about how you grew up understanding psychic abilities, what you thought of psychic abilities, what people said about it, the phrases they used. Here's a couple of things. For example, I can remember watching TV and watching these really cool episodes of psychics or mediums that were on TV, and somebody would always be in the background in my family saying that that was fake or that it was staged. And there was a part of me that really felt like it was real, but a majority of my family members would say that it was just TV, and it really gave me this kind of imbalanced thought about what psychics were, what TV was. I mean, I even had to go back and to realize that TV from a childhood's perspective, I thought was real. I thought that anybody who endorsed a product, they actually use that product. So there might be some blocks from childhood that are keeping you from seeing your psychic abilities for what they are. Remember, we already have them, but you could block them out because a part of you, a part of society has convinced you that it didn't exist or that it wasn't real. Another example might be maybe growing up. I think I heard this a lot where somebody would, maybe I would assume something with another individual or a human, and they would come back with the phrase what do you think I am, psychic? Almost like that doesn't exist. Almost like that idea of being a psychic is just phenomenal and way out of reach. And I have to say that, remember, we all have these abilities. Another block that you could possibly have, and I'm just giving as many examples as I can so maybe that you guys can relate, really kind of has to do with maybe our throat chakra, where when we were small or a child, we said something that we were intuitively drawn to say, something that was maybe a truth about an adult or a situation, or we came up with something that we were intuitively drawn to say, and it was shut down. We were put down. We were told that it wasn't important. So if that has happened to you in your past, then just believe that that can block your psychic abilities from coming through, because you might be afraid to speak about them. Maybe you were hushed as a child, but now it's time to unblock that throat chakra. So maybe going back into this hermit mode of kind of understanding, okay, this is what I want now in my life. I want my psychic abilities to flourish. So what is blocking me? What is keeping me from seeing them? And it could be a mindset. It could be a belief that you kind of buried on top of your own subconscious self. So it's time to work through those blocks so we can really see and discover what our abilities are. Okay, so let's just say that you've worked through as many blocks, or you're starting to work through some blocks, because it's not like you have to get to an end point and then poof, your abilities come into perspective. It could just be the next day. You could say to yourself, I no longer need this block. It no longer serves my higher purpose. So let's get rid of the blocks and bring the issues to the surface, to my conscious mind, so that I can see what I'm working with here. Okay, so I've done this often. Here's a great exercise where you can kind of step into your psychic abilities. A lot of people might say this is like jumping timelines, but I also can basically attribute to the fact that I'm saying it's not technically a timeline you're jumping into. It's a new mindset. It's a new energy. And when you align your thinking and your emotions and your physical world along with your energy, then you're basically manifesting anything. Anything will come to you. So even your psychic abilities. So going to bed at night, go to bed at night, and I want you to lay in bed and I want you to imagine you waking up the next day and your life is somebody who is very in tune with their intuition. You are able to catch things before they happen. You're able to read people's minds. It comes very easy to you, even if you have to pretend that it's this mystical, magical world, because you've kind of been hindered by the word impossible in this life. So think about if you were this magical being, if you were this magical wizard, if you were this magical person, you woke up the next day and that was your life. Go to bed every day telling yourself that that is the person that you are. Eventually, one day you'll wake up and you'll start to see and recognize these synchronicities that are going on around you. And I know a lot of you are here and you've already been getting the number signs, the synchronicity number signs. But I'm here to tell you that those signs are leading to your psychic abilities. And what I mean by that is there can be synchronicities not just in numbers. You can see two of the same car go by. You can see somebody says a phrase to you and then an hour later another individual says the same phrase to you. There's synchronicities. And when you see those in life, that means like you're there at the right moment, that there's something there for you. There's a purpose there for you. Whether it's a reading, an intuitive reading, maybe you're supposed to be helping somebody in that moment, but it is divine timing at its best. So start to look for signs, start to look for synchronicities that are tuning you into your psychic abilities, to your thoughts, what you're thinking at that moment, what's going on in that moment. Are you reading deeper into the situation intuitively without even realizing it? And I think by being aware that we're doing it, just making awareness of this deeper thought that's going on in the moment, whether you're with a bunch of people or maybe you're just by yourself, their psychic intuitive messages are being sent to you, whether it's through visions, a feeling, a smell. Your body responds physiologically. Maybe your heart sinks or your heart starts to beat real fast for like 3 seconds. That can be an intuitive psychic message from your body, from the other side, from your intuition. So we have to realize that our intuitive psychic signs and messages are going to come in many, many different ways depending on who we are and how we've lived our life, because we are all individually unique. And although we are all connected to this idea of oneness, this energy of oneness, we've lived different lives that are going to help us see our signs specifically for us. So our signs may not be the same as another person's signs. We have to realize and recognize that and be okay with, we've chosen some way to communicate with ourselves, our higher selves. And it's specific to you. Okay, so getting to know your intuition, getting to know your abilities, it's really important for you to act on them and absorb them and make more awareness of them. For example, if you're just having a conversation with a person and then you both randomly say something at the same time, that needs awareness. You need to bring your attention to that moment because it happened for a reason. There was some type of psychic or energetic connection that happened. So pay more attention to that. Focus in on that. Make your life really about focusing on the subtleties, because that's really, from my perspective, I can't do a psychic reading while I'm in the car with screaming kids. I have to be very subtle in like my bodily feelings, my emotions, what's going on around me. I have to pay attention to everything because everything is a sign and it all comes together at the end. Whether it's just a picture that happens to randomly be in my vicinity while I'm doing the reading, or it's a weird feeling, a twitch in my arm that's telling me that I'm supposed to be talking about the person's arm. So there are very subtle things that we take for granted every day that we've learned to take for granted because it was easier than getting shut down or quieted as a child, okay? Well, I hope this video helps you maybe discover some blocks that are associated with you finding your psychic abilities. And in the next video, we are going to jump and dive into those pure feelings. What are those psychic abilities? How do I know that they're present in my life? Okay? Thank you so much for watching and thanks for joining my Patreon.